Hey guys, it's KJ from the Thescariestmovieever channel on YouTube. And I recently discovered this German magazine that has a lot of really interesting symbolism. And all of this symbolism is focused on Trump. As you know, here on my channel, typically, instead of following the news headlines, I like to follow the symbols, the synchronicities, the subliminals. Typically on my channel we're dealing with the occult and the esoteric. Because as Confucius once wrote, this world is not ruled by rules nor laws, but by signs and symbols. And we're living in some very exciting times. Many of us have seen this storm coming for a very long time. If we just step outside of this 10-hour news cycle and also this matrix of entertainment and look at what's really going on all around the world, it suddenly becomes very clear that we're on the verge of complete and total chaos. Recently, America has literally been sticking a stick into a hornet's nest. And that hornet's nest is Syria. And more specifically, it's Damascus. And this situation should really grab your attention. Whether you're a believer or not, you need to understand that this is prophecy. There is Bible prophecy that hasn't happened yet, and it relates directly to Damascus, Syria. It predicts that Damascus is going to be a heap of ruins. And this strike really seemed to come out of nowhere. Because just a few weeks ago, Trump was talking about pulling out of Syria. And then just a few days later, suddenly there's a gas attack, or an alleged gas attack on the civilians. So without skipping a beat, not only did Trump not pull our soldiers out, but he wound up attacking Syria. Everything in this reality seems to work in cycles, and we see examples of this all the time. Just like this current situation with Trump, Syria, and the alleged gas attacks is very much mirroring what Bush went through many years ago with Iraq and the weapons of mass destruction, of which to date have still never been found. During the Iraq situation, our government lied to us to get us involved in a, quote, war with them. And it really wasn't much of a war. And it seems that they returned to their book of tricks because we're seeing the same thing unfold right now. So all of this brings me back to Der Spiegel and a lot of their covers that are featuring Trump. But the reason I bring them up is they've featured on the cover of their magazine several different images of Trump, but all of them relate to the end times. So before I get into that, I just need to show you a few more images to make some connections for you. So throughout the years and in many of my videos, I've shown you guys St. John's pillars, and these are in New York City. And these, to me, are a clear example of something that's prophetic. It's put right before our very eyes, yet so few people see. But just in the images that are before you right now, you can see a lot going on. In the upper right-hand corner, you can see the cloaked figure featuring one eye. You could call this a symbol of the Illuminati or the shadow controllers. Because just next to that image, just to the left of it, you can see the Kabbalah tree of life. And much of what these secret controllers, or these people on the top of the pyramid, are involved in is Jewish mysticism. So moving over just a little bit more on the image, you can actually see several examples of these waves coming over New York City. And you can see bridges falling apart. This is mass destruction. If you look a little bit lower, you'll see the actual birthing of the Antichrist. Now this isn't a physical birthing, but it shows the actual emergence, I believe, of the Antichrist during or directly after all this chaos coming from New York City. Because once this destruction starts, it won't just be New York, but once this starts, that's going to be the time where the man of sin will be revealed, or the son of perdition, the man of lawlessness, the Antichrist. It's also interesting if you look back just over the last year or so, and you'll find these strange stories coming out that are connecting New York City with the tsunami. You may even remember this story from not long ago. There was a tsunami warning for New York City, but it turns out it was a false alert. Now there's also something else very serious to consider, but just over the last few years, there have been tons of people having these dreams and visions about a tsunami in New York City, even a nuclear war or a nuclear bomb going off. Here in Google, I just put in tsunami dream New York City, and right here you got 555,000 results just for that phrase alone. But you can scroll down and you'll see that a lot of people have been making videos about this, a lot of people are talking about it. And now, of course, we get into some of the lesser magic of this whole situation. In this sense, lesser magic is a form of predictive programming. But lesser magic is a spell, and it wants you to be involved in it without you actually realizing it. So this stems from my interest in the language of symbols, and synchronicities, and subliminals. Because this is exactly the way that the occultists at the top of the pyramid work. And throughout the last 5 years, I believe there have been a mass awakening where many of us are spiritually seeing exactly what they're trying to say. So if you didn't know about this, please do some research and look up the $100 bill shows a nuke near New York City. It also shows a tsunami. And this was originally uncovered a few years ago from a man on YouTube named Jonathan Kleck. So I actually know Jonathan Kleck. I consider him a friend. I've actually met him in real life. I understand his work's controversial, but the same could be said for my work. When you're dealing in a lot of this really heavy stuff, you're going to have people that are with you and you're going to have people that are against you, and that's just the way it is. So I would ask that you don't shoot the messenger in this case. It's really all about the message and the information, so please look this up. Because I believe it's the Holy Spirit that shows us this stuff, that shows us this information. We're not a part of the Lodge. We're not a part of the Masons. We're not a part of the Illuminati. We don't have that insider information. The only way this kind of stuff is revealed to me or anybody else out there, I believe, is through the Holy Spirit. Because this is a spiritual battle we're in. And you need your spiritual eyes to be able to see what's really going on right now. So I follow the signs, I follow the symbols, and as far as Trump's concerned, there's been a lot of very interesting, I believe, coded imagery surrounding this man. And a lot of this imagery goes back to the idea of New York being nuked, a tsunami taking over New York, and we've seen that in other places as well. For instance, we have this imagery right here. This is real. This is not photoshopped. You can look it up for yourself. This is from North Korea. And there's the leader with some of his delegates, standing right in front of a mural that clearly looks like some kind of a tsunami wiping out a city by the sea. It's also very interesting to note that President Clinton has been there before and had a picture taken right in front of this massive tsunami mural. So now we go back to Der Spiegel. I'm going to show you a few images from here. So this one right here is pretty obvious on the surface. Trump is going to lead to the end of liberty for America, or the end of America as we know it. I also find it somewhat symbolic of the end-time idea that many Christians will not only be persecuted, but beheaded. And at that time, it won't just be the Christians, it'll be anybody that doesn't want to take the mark of the beast, however that's served to the people. So, of course, now we have imagery here of Trump and Kim Jong-un on a missile. And I find that very interesting, once again, just seeing that mural that we saw in North Korea. And then, of course, we have this image right here as well from Der Spiegel. So obviously on the surface, this is painting Trump as some kind of a Klansman. But this is where I find my work connecting to other people's work on YouTube. This only happens with a handful of people in my experience. But I know that Jonathan Kleck has been talking a lot about the tip of the spear. He's associating that with President Trump. That Trump will be the tip of the spear that leads us into this massive final conflict, this World War III. And ultimately, from there, the tribulation, the rapture of the church. Some people believe, some don't. But all of that falls in this timeline. It's as if the world is waiting. We're right on the verge, and they're waiting for the event to happen. It's also very interesting if you look at Trump's family crest and look at the very top there, and what's that hand holding but a spear, the tip of the spear. Now this magazine cover is from The Economist, and again we see them using similar imagery. On the surface, again, it's connecting Trump with the idea of being a Klansman, but symbolically we're looking at the tip of the spear. And speaking of The Economist, some of you may remember this cover right here, The World in 2017 from The Economist magazine. Many of us, myself included, did a breakdown on the symbolism. So if you're unfamiliar with that, you can just type that into any search engine, The World in 2017 Occult Breakdown, perhaps. And you'll see that there were many, many people with different interpretations, some of them crossing over and connecting, others not. But you'll see all the different interpretations of this imagery. But right there on the right-hand side, the most basic and to the point, is Trump sitting on top of the world is his footstool, on the judgment card. So once again, this puts out the idea of the tip of the spear. Trump being the person, or the tip of the spear, that leads the world into war. Which finally brings us back to Der Spiegel. So there are multiple covers that I could show you that seem to signify something to do with the end of the world. But I wanted to focus on the most obvious ones for now. So after everything I've shown you, isn't it interesting that we come back to the idea again of a tsunami or a wave, the nuke that creates the tsunami, all of this associated with Trump being the tip of the spear or the cause of it all. He'll be the ultimate fall guy. So as I said earlier, for me and for some of you out there, these are very exciting times. Because ultimately, we know where all this stuff is leading. I had a good conversation with another friend of mine from YouTube just a few days ago, and his name is Jacob Israel. Now, Jacob has a different approach to all this. He believes that instead of people worrying about this stuff or freaking out, that we should be praying. That we should be praying to the Lord that He holds off just a little bit longer so that more people can come to Him. I really like his idea, and overall I really like the idea of not approaching this stuff in fear. At the same time, I think it's very important that we understand this, that we see what time it is. I don't know when everything's going to go off. I don't know when anything's going to happen. But I know we're in that time. I know we're in that season. And it's my belief, after all these years of looking into this kind of stuff, that the only way out really is through Jesus Christ. If you haven't accepted Christ yet, if you're not on board, please don't waste any more time. It's a free gift. It's not going to cost you any money. And it's going to save your soul for eternity. Because there's more beyond this reality. But that's just my 2 cents. So I'll leave you with that for now, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching my videos. I appreciate you. I really hope they're helping. And until next time, take care, stay aware, okay? And I'll talk to you a little later.